minutes in, we are going on that. Okay, I'll be right back.
We need to put the sign up sheet.
Not gonna speak, you don't have to.
It's all right. We never have anybody, so I didn't bring one.
There's might be a sign-up sheet on that table in the back. There's not?
There's
Okay.
not. Well, there might be, but I doubt it.
Okay, it's 9 o'clock. Mills County Commissioners Court is in session for August 17th. Let me do a roll call. Present for the court in the courtroom are Commissioner Hall, Commissioner Wright, and myself, the county judge. Present via Zoom, Commissioner Williams and Commissioner Gearing. Also present, Treasurer Trina Busby, Veteran Service Officer Craig Wright. And I can't make out the faces in the Mills County Law Enforcement Center, but I see Tina and some others there. I guess they're muted. They'll tell us who's there later. Also, we have Charles Miles in the courtroom and County Attorney Gerald Hale. Also on Zoom, we have Miss Ebony Jackson from Bell County Indigent Health for an item that's on the agenda later on. And also online with the cameras off, we have Cody McCarn of Mills Central Appraisal District and the Goldthwait Eagle. So that's where we stand right now. With that, we have 100% attendance of the court. We have a quorum. So if you would join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance and the prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Commissioner Williams, would you lead us via Zoom by prayer?
Yes. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for all that you have given us here in Mills County. Thank you for your love that you have given Mills Countyans as we love you so much. Please bless our Commissioner's Court here today and the duties that we are here to do. Father, guide us in our actions. In your names we pray. Amen.
Amen. The first item on the agenda is a public hearing. So we will recess Commissioners Court and convene a public hearing on the Mills County budget. I'd like to say a few things as we get started. We have limited attendance here in the courtroom. We have no public attendance on Zoom, and we have unknown public attendance on YouTube. To make sure everybody has time to appear, I'm going to quickly flip through an overview of the budget, and then we will open it up to public discussion. At the end of the public hearing, we will close the public hearing and reconvene Commissioners Court to take actions. This is a small but probably a good dry run for larger public hearings we will be having over the next month or so with regard to wind farm tax abatements. So we're going to try something new with Sonia's help. It's called a screen share, and you'll see my actual notes up on the screen. Sonia, if you could shift it to the slideshow format and get rid of the left-hand bar that shows all the little slides, it might play a little better. Background, the environment for the budget this year, two problems we're facing. One is we have COVID that's going on for an undetermined period of time and has a number of different impacts on the county. And secondly, we've had a reduction in the taxable value of Mills County. That's our tax rolls. The COVID impacts, won't go through them all, but I mean, it's increased unemployment significantly. It's hurt some businesses. Honestly, it's spotty. We've seen reduction in income in certain categories in the county budget. We've seen increased demand for health care and problems and inefficiencies with how we operate the courthouse and all of our public services in a COVID environment. And honestly, the infection rates in Mills County have only recently, like within the last month to 6 weeks, started up. Early on, we were not too much affected. Moving on to the Mills County tax base discussion. Let's see, that would be, okay, try the next one. There we go. Just want to give the tax base itself's down $6 million year over year. There was a lot of stuff behind getting to that number, however. We had $21 million of new buildings on the came onto the rolls, but 15 million of it's tax exempt. We had a decline in wind farm valuations. The decline was about $30 million. It's just depreciation. But despite that, it's still $275 million on our tax rolls, and it generated a little over $900,000 of annual taxes for the county. That's just for the county. The schools would be a similar but larger number. And that number for the county is about 20% of our total county tax revenue. Another issue that's going on is we have litigation with one large utility taxpayer that has delayed collection this year of about $356,000 of taxes. And in addition to that, there's a large amount of penalties and interest. The rendition has been corrected for the 2020 tax year. That correction took another $31 million off the tax rolls. So those things combined to move our tax rolls down slightly. There was also reappraisals going on in the background in the other direction. Then we have 2 additional wind farm tax abatements on the horizon for new construction, but they are likely not to be on the tax rolls till 2022. So out in the future. When put the budget together, this is in the budget goals slide, Sonia. The goal, my goal, and I think it's the county's goal, was to not create an additional financial burden on the citizens in tough times. And if there's a way to do it, reduce the tax rate. Also to have a balanced budget, maintain services, preserve jobs and benefit security for county employees. And in doing so, I ask each elected official and community organizations to reduce their costs, or at least the portion of the cost that was borne by the county. And there were some exceptions, and basically having to do with public health and safety. We're going to try and continue to use grants when we can do it to meet the COVID-related expenses and to begin to reduce unfunded pension liability in Mills County. What the budget didn't accomplish was it doesn't include any renovation projects. In prior years, we've had jail renovations, courthouse renovations. There's none of that in here. It doesn't have any major county road improvements. Last year, we tried to do a number of new concrete crossings that I think are largely got done. That's not budgeted in this year. We're not adding any major road equipment. Actually, there's one used dump truck. We not adding any new positions in the county. We're not increasing pay ranges or benefits, and we're not budgeting any grant income in advance of actually receiving them. We'll deal with that as it happens. So what does that look like compared to the prior year? You can see the revenue year to year is down just at $300,000. The expenses in the proposed budget are down $324,000, and the budget itself went from a slight deficit last year to a slight surplus this year. At a high level on the next page, the mix of how we spend our money is generally unchanged. So there wasn't anybody that was disproportionately affected. You can see the top line is a revenue line, and that shows the portion of the county's revenue that came from property taxes. So where's the rest of it? Well, the rest of the county revenue is fines, fees, vehicle registration, some vehicle sales tax, prisoner boarding. There's all sorts of other types of revenue, but a lot of those things are off, and the taxes are a larger part of our revenue. Then as a percent of revenue each year, you can see last year's budget and this year's budget. And there's changes, there's generally small. And when you look at them, you got to keep in mind that the revenue is a little lower. So that drives some of the percentages slightly higher. The next page is what it does to tax rates. And these numbers will make your eyes cross, except for Cody, who probably lives on them. But you can see, I think of this stuff in percentages, but just to use a simple look at the total combined rate. It's this current year, 0.7039%. The proposed budget takes it to 0.7022. So that is a decrease of a whole bunch of zeros and 17%. So it's a decrease. It's not much of a decrease. But what's interesting is look at the bottom line. No new tax rate. In the old days, we call this the effective tax rate. And the effective rate last year was 0.7039, which was the same thing as our actual tax rate. This year, the effective tax rate is actually an increase. That's because the tax revenue, the tax rolls are going down. So to get the same amount of revenue, we would have had to raise taxes. And so the effective rate went up 0.02%. Our actual rate that goes with the proposed budget, assuming adoption, is down 0.001%. And in all that noise, you can see that the actual tax rate for interest and sinking, that's one that we have effectively little control over. That actually had to go up some, up year over year. So that's just a high level overview of what's going on in the tax rates. I wanted just to touch on employee compensation. This is like a lightning rod, but just to focus it, our payroll in the county is just under $2 million a year. That's just the payroll. That's not benefits. That's not unemployment tax. That's, not retirement, not all that other stuff. Head count, we have 55 paid full-time employees. Of those, we have 10 elected officials that are paid, and that leaves 45 paid county employees. That's non-elected. If you look at the existing salary ranges, and we budgeted the top of the existing salary ranges, 20 employees, and that's just over 40% of the workforce, are not at the top of their salary range. And if you do all the math for those employees, that leaves $45,000 in the budget that group of employees can be increased. That number is 3% of total non-elected salaries, not 3% of the employees that are under budget, but 3% that are of the total salaries of the 45. Also in the budget, and it's not in the departmental budgets, it's in the non-departmental, is longevity pay. This sort of slopes steeply toward the longer tenured employees. There's 41,500 in the budget. That represents just under 3% of the total elected and non-elected employee payroll. And then finally, the final thing I want to point at is we're starting to try and chip away at the unfunded pension liability. And we're paying approximately 22,000, which is an additional 1.5% of payroll. It is the way the pension works. Just as a quick review, the employees pay 7% of their payroll. The county does a 200% match, so that's 14%. But the county's match historically has been reduced by the investment income at TDRS. So you look at all that in the aggregate, like say the current year, TDRS says, hey, you only have to put in 12.5% instead of the 200% match, only whatever that number is. But when you look at our pension, unfunded pension liability, it went from 300,000 to 800,000, and that's based on investment results through 19. It doesn't pick up the most current year. So to keep the number from getting progressively larger, the suggestion from TDRS, and I agree with it, is to go ahead and make your normal match contribution and keep that deficit from building. So that's in the budget. At the end of the day, I'd recommend this budget to you for approval because it operates the county. It provides for the operation of the county, although without major capital expenditures, the debt continues to pay off. In the current year, or in the coming budget year, we'll be making our last equipment payment. That's 20,000. We'll be making a final payment on the courthouse renovation bonds. That will be done. That's 175,000. We may be able to pay off the community center bank loan. It's not budgeted. It's $6,000 balance, but it's something I'm going to be talking to the court about if we have that Encore money come in. And at that point, the only remaining debt will be the law enforcement center bonds that have a current balance of about 6.4 million. The less debt there is out there, the less drains there is on our tax revenue, and the more that money can be spent on the day-to-day operations of the county. The budget includes the potential cost of a county judge, but it's in the non-departmental budget as a contingency line. So it's budgeted, it's there, so it's built into all these numbers, but it's really available if we have a need for it someplace. The budget reduces the tax rate, literally, even if it's not a huge number and it's below the no new tax rate. And there's some unbudgeted potential upsides. The biggest one is the potential favorable outcome on the Sherryland tax appeal and additional COVID grants. The downside risk is we have additional COVID expenses or other impacts on our revenue budget and or federal and state mandates. And as a buffer, we continue to have an investments, which we have drawn on this year to carry us through the Sherryland shortfall, and there's still money left for that. So with that overview, we're in a public hearing. I'd like to throw it open to, don't see anybody else joined us on Zoom except the Justice of the Peace. Are there any from the courtroom, any questions, any comments for the court on the budget or the tax rate?
Ed.
Trina.
Ms. Busby.
So there's a couple of things I want to correct, if that's okay. So I don't think we have 55 full-time employees. I think that may be counting Brownwood. We only have about 47 full-time employees. And then the second thing is we do have the paying off the senior center in the budget already.
Okay. Thank you for catching that. Any other comments? Well, if we have been in a public hearing now for 15 minutes. We have had no public comment. So I'm going to close the public hearing, and we are now reconvening Commissioners Court.
Now can the board speak on the budget?
Well, yeah, but can we go down the agenda?
Yes.
Sure. Let's get our regular stuff out of the way. The review of the minutes. We've got minutes for July 27th, July 31st, and August 10th. The only comment I had on them, and I think it affects two of them, the 31st and maybe the 27th. I think it's a spell check thing. Talking about the tax rates, it's the de minimis rate instead of the minimis rate. If I'm reading it right. Yeah, it's just a spelling issue.
That's on the 31st.
Yeah, yeah, it's on the 31st, and I think it may also be on the 27th.
That's on what I saw.
Okay. Are there any other comments on the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes as written with those additions that you mentioned there.
We have a motion to approve the minute
I second it.
with the correction of the de minimis rate. Was there a second?
I second it.
Do we have a second from Commissioner Williams? Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, audience with individuals, no one is signed up to speak. Is that correct, Ms. Foster? Okay. So consider an act on approving accounts payable. These were distributed electronically Friday afternoon. I don't have any questions. Does anyone?
I've got one, Judge.
I have not.
Go ahead, Commissioner Guerin.
On the jail, there's a $2,900 charge to Cummins Southern Plains on the generator. What was wrong with the generator? I didn't think we ever used it that much.
The batteries went out, all the fluids and all that stuff had to be changed out. So we had to bring them in to replace the batteries and do the maintenance on it.
Okay, question I had, wouldn't it have been cheaper to get an independent contractor instead of Cummins Southern? I know they're good, but for something, we could have done that.
We actually visited with the major automotive, and then with discussion with them and stuff, it was best that we go with Cummins.
Okay, that just seems an awful lot to change the batteries and the fluids. I'm sorry.
Judge, I have a question.
Go ahead.
What is,
Commissioner.
this is precinct 2, what is Cracker Jack Properties?
That's Justin Baird's new, what he calls his repair shop.
Okay. And what was that repairs on?
Clutch on the blue truck.
Okay. That's all the questions I have, Judge.
Any other questions? We have a motion to approve the accounts payable.
I make a motion that we approve the accounts payable as presented. Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Hall, a second from Commissioner Wright. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That was an aye, correct, Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's unanimous approval. Next item on the agenda, number 8, approval of election judges. Ms. Foster gave us a sheet at the start of the meeting listing 7 judges. Has everybody received it? Commissioner
No.
Guerin and Williams, you haven't?
No.
I haven't.
Can you read it?
Carolyn, can you read it to them?
It's the same judges we had for the last, forever. Precinct 1 and early voting would be Loretta Padilla. Excuse me. Precinct 2, 1 and ahead. Precinct 4, Deidre Reinhardt. 6, Caroline Swartz. 8, Nita Frazier. 9, Judy McKinney. And 11, Joanne Free.
Are there any questions or discussion on the appointment of election judges?
I'll make a motion to approve the election judges as presented.
I'll second it.
We have a motion from Commissioner Wright and a second from Commissioner Hall. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's unanimous approval of the election judges. Find where we are.
Election salaries.
Consider that.
Okay, number 9, consider an act on elected officials. Sonia, could you put this one up on a screen share, please? We had a error in what we sent to the Eagle initially. Here's a corrected one. This is running in this week's Eagle. It should show up on your screen in a moment, but the short answer is there we go. It shows there are boxes around the 2 corrections. The current year salaries were correct in all cases. It's just some other number had been picked up for the prior year.
Judge, with this elected salaries and just published, why isn't the county judge salary? Because posted.
It's published there as 0.
Well, does this court, we put in our budget to have a county judge salary?
Okay, what's in the budget is the dollar amount of the county judge salary, but it's not listed in the county judge's department or as a salary. It's listed as a contingency in a non-departmental expense. So the financial impact of the budget, but there is no budgeted salary for the county judge.
Okay, well, just to be on the safe side for the commissioner's court, you resign tomorrow and we have this salary of 0 for someone else coming in. How does that work?
Financially, I think what you would do would be have a budget amendment, and I think it could even be an emergency budget amendment because there's no anticipation of the judge resigning. It would be an unanticipated event. And the money is there in the contingency to pay for the full year. So that would be how I believe we would deal with it. Let's ask the treasurer and the county attorney if they agree.
How does that reflect to us on total budget for our elected officials?
For their road and bridge department too.
Well, I don't know. It doesn't affect road and bridge one way or the other.
Well, if it's in the general account, we're not putting it in the road and bridge part of it.
The judge's salary don't have anything to do with the road and bridge.
Elena, how does that affect the court in your opinion? I asked Gerald the same question in just a second. On our total elected official salaries. I guess he's muted out, Judge.
Let me,
Who are you
Ms.
asking?
Busby, are you there?
Yeah, I didn't hear who he asked. I really, as far as legally, I don't really know. I mean, I would think maybe if that happened, we could put it in the paper at that time if we needed to do that.
I'm sorry, I didn't make it.
I don't really know.
We don't understand you.
We don't know what you're saying.
You're breaking up.
So I would think that the way the judge is saying it would work.
Can y'all hear her?
No.
No,
She's
Can you-
saying her comment she just made was that she doesn't see how there's
Can't hear
anything
you.
wrong with it. The way it is listed right as it is.
Boy, our sensor's really on the ball today.
We didn't catch all of yours either, Jason. I'm sorry. Here in court. Your comments.
Trina is stating that that she doesn't see anything wrong with the way it is written in this report. But she doesn't know legally 100% if that's correct or not. Did you hear that?
Okay, then
Gerald, what
let's,
is listed as a public salary that we have to post it?
Well, if y'all recall, this came up before Judge Smith actually took office in the budget for the year that was going to include his salary, and I expressed concerns about it then, with the idea that any of us could fall over dead tomorrow, and I'm not saying that any of us is going to, but I had concerns that if there were some sort of vacancy that occurred in the position, that we may not find somebody else that would be as gracious to donate their services to the county as Judge Smith has done. That I felt like maybe we should budget a salary and then let the judge decline to accept that salary. So I had concerns about it from the get-go. No, we've got Mr. Miles present here in the courtroom today, and he's more of an expert on this kind of stuff than I am, so I might see what his opinion on it might be.
I think Trina is correct in that this is uncharted territory. I think you actually have to probably get an attorney general's opinion to actually resolve it. I don't think it's a correct answer because I don't think this happens ever. I've never seen it happen. So.
Well, there's
I think having the number in the budget is correct. Where do we put it? I think it would come down to trying to get an attorney general's opinion at that time on the proper way to do it.
because there is a salary for our county judge. You know, like I said, it's just been placed somewhere else. To me, that is an elected official's salary, and to me, it has to be posted, and I think that's what this court voted on a couple of years ago, that we include that judge's salary here in case, you know, something happens and we budgeted for it every year. And this situation here is that you see the county attorney's salary and all the other elected officials' salary, except for our county judge. And whether he takes the money or not, that's his decision. But I think the court's responsible to put money in this. My personal opinion. So I'm asking.
You're not going to get a
Yes,
an opinion who's been through it, because I don't know that anybody's been through this exact situation.
And I agree with Charles. I don't know what the law is or what would happen. I know enough about it to be concerned about it and think that it has a potential of being a problem. Whether it's a real problem or not,
Right.
depends on the future. I don't think there's much of a likelihood that it's going to be a problem, but it's just there.
So what difference would it make, Gerald, if this been posted as a county judge salary that's posted for the public to see? You know, it's the same difference in having it in some other account.
Well, if the salary as set by this commissioner's court is zero, then it looks to me like you have a problem setting a salary at some point in the future if what you've set already is zero. I don't know how you could change an elected official's designated salary during the budget year. So I guess that's the question.
which
This is coming
means,
from a new budget cycle.
Exactly. That's
So-
what I'm saying, yes.
I don't think the court's ever set his salary at zero.
Yeah.
I think we did, y'all did last year before I was even hired. I mean, before I was
Well,
sworn
we
in.
put money in the budget.
Yep.
For the county judge's salary.
No, we didn't.
I
No,
don't
we
think
didn't.
we did.
I thought we did.
No,
No, no.
I think we budgeted 3 months
yes,
for.
Yeah. Okay.
right.
That's for past judge and then 9 months for zero.
So what's the difference between this year and last year?
I guess we're more comfortable asking questions, I guess.
Okay,
Well, like everything else, it's only a problem if it becomes a problem. So,
Then what's gonna happen when that
if the
becomes a
last
problem?
budget cycle, it didn't become a problem.
If it becomes a problem, then I won't have to worry about it, but somebody else will. So it's up to the commissioner's court. I don't see that it hurt to have the judge's salary on the elected official's salary. It's already in the budget.
yeah, I don't care. But here's a couple of points. One, and I think this is why y'all purposely made it zero last year, was so that my campaign was I wasn't going to take a salary, among other things. And by not having the salary in the budget, I couldn't take it. So I think that was the motivation last year. This year, I don't know, other than heading off, I might die, which on any given day is an issue. If we put the money here in the salary, number one, I could go down tomorrow and tell Trina, okay, I want to start taking it. Number two, if we need to start using this contingency, because I was just trying to build up the financial discipline of having the cost in the county. If we need $5,000 extra for something, we're going to be taking it out of the salary budget, and then we don't have the salary left that we may or may not need. So
Trina, can we take money out of salaries and move it to somewhere else in a whole nother line item?
That depends on who you talk to.
I don't think you can do that because you're required by to have a separate action by the commissioner's court that sets elected official salary, period.
You can't change that during the year.
And then that cannot be changed during the year.
So if his salary says zero, and I'm not saying, if something happened, he resigned, or anything happened to him that he could not fill the position, the next judge would not get a salary.
That's the potential problem. Exactly.
I'm not saying nothing bad about nobody, but if it did happen, there is a possibility. There's not another judge going to come in this county without a salary. I don't think.
Well, we don't know. People in this county do all sorts of volunteer work.
Well, if we have a salary in this position as a county judge and that individual decides to donate it or whatever he might do, that's his choice. To me, as a court, I think we have to have a county judge's salary here. And then if he wants to donate it back to the county or give it to some donation, that's the choice of that individual. Is it not, Judge? Would it be?
Well, I am not going to take a salary, so I'm not going to take it and donate it. I'm just not going to take it.
Correct. But the next individual, that's what I'm saying, might not be as kind-hearted as you in that situation that needs the salary.
Judge,
Commissioner Gary wants to talk.
Judge,
Commissioner Guerin, are you waving at it?
the best I remember, Judge, when we discussed this before, you wanted to use that money from your salary that was offered to you to help in other areas of the county's budget if we needed it. We decided to go ahead and adopt your salary and.
Sorry, Jed, I can't understand. You're breaking up too. I'm sorry. Can y'all understand me? I can't.
We were going to put it as a line item transfer in case something happened to Judge Smith, we could transfer it back.
Commissioner Williams, were you able to get that?
Jed is stating that, that we put it under a line item so that we can move it wherever the money might be needed throughout the year on your salary. since you weren't taking the salary. And that's what he recalls that we agreed to do. Does I say that right, Jed?
That's right. That's right.
Yes, that's what he's saying.
So what's the problem now?
I see Mike's concerned. I really do.
What you said.
And I see Robert's concerned that, you know, not everybody's going to come in there and take a zero salary.
Well,
And
we've got
if we assume, you know, that's the greatest sin is assuming something. So we may not want to assume. I don't know. Robert and Mike may have a point here.
yeah.
You know,
Jason, I'm sorry, but the court, we pick up about every fourth word. We're not hearing what you're telling us. Or
Okay, please call you on your cell phone and put it on the speaker. I'm gonna make it.
Yeah.
It's clear as can be downstairs.
It's clear as can be on all of
okay.
ours.
It's clear to be on
Commissioner
mine.
Williams, would you mind calling my cell phone or and we will put it on the speaker. I think the sound is getting a delay in the technology and making it incomprehensible.
You may get feedback off of that though. But I will tell you downstairs it was clear.
Well, it's not here
No.
by a long shot. Yeah.
I knew I was gonna crash the system.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes, can you hear me now?
we can hear you now.
Okay. What I was stating was that I see and hear what Mike is bringing up, that this could be a concern. We've all assumed stuff over the time, and it's come back to haunt us when we assume. So I agree with what Gerald's saying too, that maybe we need to put this in the line item as elected official salary, because what if one of these commissioners or this court does not want to allow a new judge to take that contemptuaries fund out of there? And so that would be in all rights not to do that. So if you have it in there, at least you're covered.
I agree with you. 100%.
Okay, well, then we will republish.
I think we need that as a motion.
Will somebody that's got good sound make the motion?
I make a motion for the court that we include the county judge's salary on the elected official salary to be posted every year.
I second.
This budget cycle.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to include the county judge's salary in the, what do we call this, the posted notice of elected officials' salary
For fiscal year 2021.
for year 2021 and forward.
Correct.
Okay, so that's the motion from Commissioner Wright.
I'll second it.
We have a second from Commissioner Hall. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Okay, so with that out of the way, is there any other, let's see. What we're trying to do on 9 is consider an act on elected official salary. So we've changed line 1 to be whatever the number is supposed to be. Is there any other discussion or a motion to approve the balance of the elected official salary as posted?
I make a motion to approve the elected official salary for fiscal year 2021.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Wright to approve the elected official salary, and we have a second from Commissioner Williams. Discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Commissioner Gearing, I'm not sure I got your vote on that. Was it an aye, a nay, or an abstain?
Hey, aye.
Okay, you're holding your hand up. I'm going to take that as an aye.
It's an aye, yes, sir.
So that is unanimous approval, Ms. Foster.
Yes, he said yes.
Okay,
Well, they can't hear Jason either.
now we are down to consider an act on approving the 2021 budget. Commissioner Wright, you had some comments or discussion.
Yes, I do. In our budget, I know we hadn't heard it or hadn't seen it. Trina made a comment this morning or a while ago that it was in our budget. 30 about the senior citizens raising it $120,000. I just wondered what that was for. That's really nice. I had it highlighted here to ask that question. Our budget's been in the past around 66,000. It's been raised this year, $86,900, where we cut all the other departments except now we're increasing that one. And I thought retaining wall that we're trying to fix over there, I didn't know. That's the reason I brought it up to ask.
I assume then this is the payoff on the debt. Is that correct, Ms. Busby?
Yes.
If we're paying off debt and you're trying to increase budgets, why don't we use CD money when a lot of CDs, and I don't think the counties should be a bank. We shouldn't, making money. We should be using the tax wisely and what we budget for. So why not do it that way, Judge, instead of increasing our budget to $120,000?
Well, we could also not pay it off, but the debt, the interest rate on it is relatively high. We could wait until we get the Sherryland Encore money and then have the discussion of what we do with it. What's the pleasure of the rest of the court?
Yes.
Robert,
Yes.
can you put it on speakerphone so I can talk to all of them?
I think Trina's trying to speak
Hang
to
on.
Judge.
All right, Trina.
Hang on, let me mute.
my
computer.
So Mike, the money may very well may come from a fee, but you have to budget anything you're gonna pay.
In other words, you couldn't pull money out of a CD unless it is budgeted.
Correct.
Correct.
And so we can budget that at this time. We have not approved our budget.
But you can't just budget to take it out of the CD. Those CDs come and go all the time. You have to have it in an expense if you're gonna pay it.
But you're not saying we cannot take that out of CD. You're just saying it has to be an expense to do it. Is that correct?
The CD is the money. But you have to budget anything you pay.
Has the budget been approved yet, Trina? So I'm saying, okay, we can budget that at this time to take money out of CD in order to pay off the debt to the Senior Citizen Center. Instead of putting the budget like we've done with this $120,000.
Actually, I think the correct answer is that you budget a deficit And then we fund the deficit by drawing down the CD. So in other words, we reduce the taxes by another $100 and whatever $1,000. And that causes a deficit, and then to fund the deficit, because you can't write hot checks, the CDs would get drawn down.
But prior to this, if we were hadn't, I didn't see this till we got a printout, really looking at it. Maybe we could have brought it up sooner. Until at this stage now, it's kind of late in the game. I know that, Judge, but it's, it's an honest question to ask, and I know I've been asked from some of the people out in the precinct asking me that, are y'all gonna keep putting money in CDs instead of using it to upgrade our county? And that's the question I have.
This money, this budget does not, surplus and deficits flow in and out of our investments.
Sure.
This budget has a $17,000 surplus, so I wouldn't consider that putting money anywhere. It's, I think that's right, but it's de minimis, and by the time we get through the year, it'll be some other number. But we also have to have cushions because things happen, like Encore. If we hadn't had the money when we had a $350,000 tax shortfall, we would have had to either borrow, or the only variable expense we have is payroll, cut staff to try and cover that. So we need to have operating funds in a reserve account. The question is, how much do you need? And I don't know if there's a right answer to that.
I know either.
I have that discussion with the appraisal district from time to time.
But my thoughts, whatever department of this county has done in the past has always come under budget. We've always had money at the end, and they're well about trying to take care of their budget money. And that's the reason I feel like every year we have surplus every year.
And when we had surplus last year, it didn't go to bill CDs. We paid down debt.
Yes.
And which I think is appropriate.
Yes.
And that would be my plan going forward. I think that's prudent. The other thing is, I think we have budgeted more tightly this year than perhaps in some years past. So I would be surprised to see the types of surplus at the end of the year we've historically seen.
That was my question.
Okay, so that's
just a question I had.
A valid discussion. What else?
That's all I have there.
On mine, since Dale's here, it'll help us. On page 10 on my budget, I think it's since you said we don't need to purchase any more new equipment or any equipment, I had 20,000 on equipment. Line item 314. Maybe putting 5,000 of that onto road materials.
You want to take the 20,000 out of the budget for equipment?
Well, I'm not saying all of
road material?
I'm not saying all of it. But road materials are going to come hard to find. I can done tell you that. I know I've had several people said, oh, you can get all the base you want, and then you go get base, and they say, no, I'd rather not dig. So, but maybe leaving him 5,000 in the 20,000, and instead of 20,000, leaving 5,000 for equipment.
And moving the rest of it over to
Move 15
to the materials.
It has no effect on the bottom line.
No,
you can
none.
do it anytime you need do is a line item transfer, but I don't know, we can do it at this stage too.
Either
It
way.
doesn't change anything.
He can able to move that. Is that not correct, Judge?
Yeah, with, it comes to Commissioner Court. Yeah.
Yes.
There's gonna be a little, I know I'm gonna have to take some out of my equipment to pay for some fuel and tires.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a definite before the end of the year, but that's in this year's budget. And it's there.
Yeah. I mean, and
There is
happens.
an excess of 18,000 in there, or approximately 18,000 in there right now that will roll over whatever's left over, I guess. Because it was a save on that maintainer this year,
Mhm.
on the
On the
bid on the
purchase
maintainer.
price, yeah.
Yep, on the purchase price. But that's just one thing I had to ask, and Mike had the other question that I had to answer about the senior citizen building. So I have no further questions.
Commissioner Guerin, do you have any questions on the budget, proposed budget?
No, I've got a whole bunch, Judge, but I'm not gonna go into it.
Well, now's the time to do it if we're gonna do it.
Well, there's a lot of stuff in there that I sure don't agree with. It said there's no increase in salaries.
Commissioner, I may need you to call me on my cell phone.
Jed,
Yes, sir.
call the judge on
I
your
think
cell
if-
phone
I'm trying.
and then mute your computer.
I'm gonna mute.
No, Jed,
He's
mute
trying to
his, and that way you can
Yeah.
hear it.
You're busy.
I don't think I muted it. Come on, Jim. I'll call him.
He's calling you.
Go ahead, Jed.
Okay, sir. Thought it said no salary increases. How come the administrative secretary at law enforcement got a salary increase?
That was a recommendation that didn't come from law enforcement, and it was looking at the relative responsibilities and pay across the county. If you look at, let me find my salary sheet or the
Okay, sir.
rate sheet.
Okay. And I'm still having trouble if we need a new transmission, spending that much money, $31,000 or $55,000, whatever, for a used dump truck. That you can buy a good used transmission in the neighborhood of $1,000 to $1,500. I don't understand that. I'm sorry.
Okay, let's hit one thing at a time. Trina, do you have the salary comparison handy to compare the hourly rate for the admin in law enforcement with the hourly rate in the other departments?
You're muted, Trina. May need to call Robert.
I'm just gonna come up there.
Ed, Judge Smith,
Yes.
Trina's on her way upstairs.
I'm sorry, Jason, I didn't understand.
Trina is on her way upstairs.
Thank you. Yeah.
It won't work, so that's the reason I pull mine back to get it off. So this goes to do it now.
Would you help me with these numbers? Mark the hourly rate for Tina and then yourself, Joy, Destiny, and whoever else. Let's see, Melissa. Yeah, just the hourly rate. That's what I've got for comparing.
Because I didn't find it.
Oh.
So that's all we were trying to do, was get it more
Yeah.
in line
Let me-
with the second people in here.
Got it?
I think I may have missed
Oh,
one.
Okay, this, Commissioner Guerin, this came out of a recommendation from our Human Resource Department, the treasurer specifically. Commissioner Guerin, I'm reading, I may have to get some new eyes on this, but the hourly rate was $14.65 for that position. And when you looked at the other admin rates, they ranged from $15.50 to $17.50. And given the responsibilities and the number of people in that department, the hourly rate set was just low. And so the budget puts an hourly rate on that, a maximum hourly rate on that position of 16. I can read that. I think it's 1611 is what it says. And that compares to the other rates, which range from $15.50 in the Justice of the Peace Office to $17.50 in other departments. So it's, in my former life, that would be called an internal equity adjustment. I'm not hearing you. Would you mind starting over on that, please, Mr. Guerin? I had my phone set the wrong way.
Yes, you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, I said, all I saw was the bottom line on that increase. And I knew, we talked about not having any salary increases. What you said makes sense. I'm still not sure. I hate to bring it up, precinct one. There's no road improvement project to speak of this year. And he's got 31,000 down for road. 55,000 down for equipment. And I can't understand why we can't fix the dump truck this time another.
Okay, I mean, some of this is when I put together an overview of the budget, I tried to paint with a broad brush, and I said no major equipment except for a used dump truck. And I think I also had something in there like no major road improvements. Yeah, there's one project there. There's a used dump truck that I did mention. I'm not saying nothing's happening nowhere. I'm just trying to paint that last year we did major projects in every precinct, and we're not doing that this year. So to the extent that's a misstatement, it's mine. To the extent you disagree with the project, then it's a budget issue. But and the same thing on the raises. There weren't any raises. There was this one equity adjustment because it didn't fit with the other wages across the county. which I thought was a different situation, but that's it.
Okay.
The phone's chirping pretty bad, Commissioner Guerin. If you don't have any other comments, I'm going to take you off the phone. Okay.
That's fine.
Commissioner Williams, anything you would like to add?
No.
That came through.
Very funny.
Okay, at this point, I would like to, let me see if I can state a motion. I'd move approval of the proposed budget for Mills County for 2020-2021 as presented, with two exceptions. One is we are moving the judge's salary from a contingency to judge's salary, and we are moving $15,000 from equipment to road material in precinct 3. And that's my motion. Is there a second?
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that is 2-4. All opposed?
Aye.
We have 2 for and 2 opposed. Mr. Guerin, what was,
Oppose.
you're opposed? Okay, the
That's
budget fails. Is there, I'm open to another motion.
So why are we opposing the budget?
I think we need to have some more budget workshops, get some of this worked out. I'm very sorry. I don't understand how this is all working, and it's my fault. Call me dummy, but we were told to cut as much as we could. I did. Nobody else has. You cut about 15, Jason, Mike, or Robert cut 15, and Mike's got a whole bunch of money stuck in there that I don't see why he can't fix the dump truck, and we could get on. I'm using used equipment. Mike's got used equipment. Mike's used equipment averages about 31 years old. Mine averages 32 years old. So that's not that wouldn't fly. That doesn't fly. I'm sorry. And my taxpayers, the constituents in my area, have been kind of upset about it. And I'm very sorry, but I'm standing up for them. That's the people I have to answer to.
Did y'all hear that in the courtroom?
Yes.
Yes, that came through very clearly. Commissioner Hall, what was your opposition?
My opposition is this deal with the senior citizen building. I don't think if we're saving money, what are we saving money on? As far as we got lots of CDs. If we won't pay that off, let's pay it off. Let's don't.
You can't pay it off unless it's listed in the budget.
Cannot.
Why have we not put it in the budget?
It is in the
We're
budget.
making payments each year on it. We've been reducing it by 50,000.
Why are we not going to be making payments on it like we approved?
Well, because we were gonna go ahead and pay it off.
If we budgeted the payments, the number would be approximately 50,000. If we budgeted paying it off, it's 170. So are you saying if we only budget 50 and then we reduce the taxes by the tax revenue projection by whatever the difference is, 120,000, that solves your issue? I'll be glad to do that.
I would think so. Yeah,
Okay.
but I don't know why we haven't been having budget workshops all along telling us this stuff. This gets put in front of us Friday.
We've had budget workshops on all the major operating areas in the budget. We
But
did
not the
not have
senior
it on
citizen.
the senior center, which to me there's not the only
The commissioners,
significant money in the senior center.
this means that the
was the
commissioners
debt.
don't have any say about what we're,
The commissioners court has to approve the budget. So, or has to not approve it, one way or the other. And if that's, I just wanted to understand why your no vote, to see if it could be addressed, and that's it. Okay.
that's all I got to say.
And you had the same address issue, right, Commissioner Wright?
No, reason I voted against the budget, Judge, and that was a question, one of the questions I had since I hadn't seen that 120,000 increase. But my concern is for our employees of the county. And y'all know how I stand on raises. I feel like we should give at least a cost of living raise to our employees. I know it's tough, but we hadn't given them raises, and now this is the second year. What concerns me is that when we decided to give a raise, if it's going to be 2 more years, that'd be 4 years before someone get a raise or a cost of living raise, and that concerns me. And try to give that kind of raise at one time, I'd rather give the easy raises every year, say a 1% or 2%, anything to help our employees. And I know coronavirus going around, it's been tough on everybody, but I'll reassure you, the road hands have been here every day and doing their jobs. And they did get raises. I did raise their salaries. But I feel like all employees of the county need at least a cost of living raises, and I did include that in my budget. I don't know what the other commissioners did, but I just feel that our best asset for this county are our employees. And I've always felt that way, and I've always been very pro about trying to give some kind of raises to our employees. And that's the reason I voted no.
Okay. Well, I just would point out, and I tried to do it in the overview, that there's there's raises within the maximum salary caps for just under half the employees. We are not cutting benefits. We're not cutting positions. We are also paying toward their pension extra, because the other option is we start cutting pension benefits to get rid of that. So, and we have the longevity. So if you just add the 3% of the longevity and what's left for the people that don't have raises that aren't at their cap, there's a total of 6% right there. So it's a different way to say, I don't describe this as a, as a punitive or as a no benefit budget for the employees like you appear to. Okay, well, we have so the budget is not.
Is our employees getting a longevity bonus this year?
Yes.
Yes.
All
Okay.
employees?
No,
Longevity.
whatever our plan is, I think it starts after 2 years.
That's correct. That's my understanding.
Yeah. Okay, the budget, we have, the budget has been voted down. We don't have a budget. There's no point in talking about tax rates. So we will skip that. Yes.
Can I make one comment?
Sure.
Before we are back into the session area? So on adding your budget, your salary, what I would propose we do is, yes, put your salary back up in the salary line, that way it's there and we have it. But that number that we have in contingency, I have your FICA and retirement also. I would suggest that we go ahead and leave that little bit of money in contingency, because that would be easy to just do a line item budget, but we would already have the salary in there. You think that would be okay, Charles, or no?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you could do that under the motion that was made in the past to move the judge's salary.
I didn't use the whole thing, because that whole $70,000 is not his budgeted salary. That was with my
Okay, so let's, we're not going to talk about item 12. This was the rules for future public hearings. It's been informative to see how our problems went with this one. So doing remote public hearings, it may be a problem. I got verbal feedback from the law firm, I think the name, Wetzel and Carmichael, on the draft we saw last meeting that said it looked all right, covered all the bases, but they wanted to look at it in more detail and don't have that report back. So no point in going to 12. Number 13 is consider an act on the engagement of the county auditor, Eckert and Company. The engagement letter is in the package. Ms. Busby, do you want to speak to that? Okay, it's the same rate as last year.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't say, they don't usually give us a rate, but I would assume it would be very the same what they would.
Judge?
Yes.
Oh, then last year we discussed asking Mr. Miles if he wouldn't want to do it. Is that out the window, or is he still available?
Yeah, I have talked to Mr. Miles about doing it. He saw a conflict based on what he had done with the county. He's here in the courtroom if he would like to hold up his hand and volunteer. Or...
For this year, I would not be interested in doing it yet. Situation may change by next year, but this year probably do not qualify under the independence rules yet. And I'm just not at the point of willing to take on this work this year with the COVID and everything. Everything's different.
Could you hear?
I'm further behind today than I've ever been in my life, I think so.
Could you hear that, Commissioner Guerin?
Yes, sir. I heard it. I just didn't want Charles to miss the opportunity.
Okay.
If he wanted it.
I appreciate it, you thinking about me.
Well, I share Commissioner Guerin's interest in that. You know our budget cycle. So when you think you would be open to pursuing doing local audit work, just let us know.
Okay. It would not be for this year though, so you need to.
Yeah.
For 20. Thank you, Charles.
Yeah, 1920.
I make a motion that we engage in Eckert and Company for the 9/30 of 2020 audit.
I'll second it.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion from Commissioner Williams, a second from Commissioner Wright to execute the engagement letter for Eckert and Company for the 9/30/2020 audit. Is there any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Commissioner Guerin, did you vote for on that or did you?
Four, yay.
Okay. Okay, so it's a unanimous vote to engage. Okay, then the next group of items on the agenda, this is an annual requirement that the court take action on our indigent health administration. We have for the last several years, maybe longer, used Bell County Indigent Health, and we have Ebony Jackson of Bell County Indigent Health on the line. Before I turn it over to Ms. Jackson, just want to point to a couple of things in the agenda. It initially would catch my eye before I was in county government that we were spending $18,000 a year on administration. What you see in the material that you provide is the difference between the amount billed and the account paid, and that's because Ms. Jackson's group qualifies the people under Medicaid, which is appropriate since they're indigent. And that puts us at Medicaid rates. And you can see the billing otherwise would be like 445,000, and instead it was 85,000. So that is the value of this program, in addition to keeping applicants for it out of the political arena and having it deal with medical professionals in Ms. Jackson's office. There's information in here on usage. It's heavily stacked toward the jail, who are by definition indigent. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Ms. Ebony Jackson.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for having me. I sent a packet to you, and I wanted to start off with our dashboard report. I think we had a pretty good year. We kind of went up in some areas due to jail billing. However, I believe that we had a pretty good year. According to the dashboard, as the judge stated, we paid approximately $85,000, and probably it might be a little over because we're still processing bills. We haven't quite reached the end of the fiscal year. And then you can kind of look at the source total, the percentages. As you can see, jail is definitely on top. The hospital bills, and those are bills that are acquired inside the hospital, which are considered out or inpatient billing, is 23% in both of those areas. We paid in the jail area approximately 40, I would say a little over 40,000, 41,000. I'm going to skip down to inpatient, outpatient care, and that's on the top of the dashboard, what I'm looking at. For the community, we didn't pay as much. For the hospital outpatient, we paid $582. And for, let me get my form that's a little easier for me to read. For inpatient, we paid about $12,000. There was we do have a young lady that's been on the program for years. She has several health issues. And for Mills County to pay only $12,000 for the issues that she has, which is heart failure, severe chronic kidney disease, diabetes, you have several other health issues, to pay $12,000 is really good. So that means that the primary care that she's getting, where she has her follow-up visits, is working. And so we do have our case managers that follow up with the customers. If we see that we're running into ER billing, which is a lot more expensive, or if we see that they're not going to their appointment. So we will follow up with them to remind them, and that helps keep the dollars down as well. Most of the billing that you're seeing here on the dashboard, the high dollar amounts are in the jail, and we'll go to that a little more because the judge did allow some of the optional services. But I would like to say that we had a young lady, and she fell in her jail cell, and she acquired a $20,000 bill. It would have cost $49,000 if it wasn't billed by the Medicaid rate. Her particular issue, she fractured her lower left side of her tibia. And then she also had other complications, which, that added to the billing. She also suffered from neuromuscular dysfunction of the bladder. And so, but I believe the fall is what really took the billing over the top, because that bill in the jail, you guys paid about
Ms. Jackson, let me interrupt. We're having some degree of sound problem again, but at the same time, you see how the court's processing this, I think we may be able to save you some time. Are there any questions for Ms. Jackson specifically? Commissioner Wood, do you have any questions?
No, I'm okay.
Well, based on that, I would, let's see.
Judge, this is Craig, right?
Yes.
May I ask a question? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
How many of
Yes.
how many of these indigents are we talking about? And are any of them veterans?
We do not record them according to veterans. Sometimes we do run, well, let me take that back. Sometimes we do run into veterans, but what we do is we collaborate with the VA and we work with them to see if we could get the percentage that they've earned serving our country. And so right now, Mills County does not have veterans on their program. For FY20, we have actually served 48 unduplicated customers. We actually processed 67 applications, and some of them were duplicated, but the actual customers that were unduplicated was 48. 37 was jail and 3 was community.
Okay. So they are being taken care of if they are veterans. Is that
Yes,
correct?
sir. Absolutely. And we do have representatives because really close to the VA hospital in Temple. So we have really great collaboration with the VA representatives to assist.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Is there any other questions?
Well, I would move approval of item 14, which is the continued administration of the indigent health program.
Second to motion.
We have a motion and a second from Commissioner Wright. Is there any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Commissioner Williams and Guerin. Okay, yeah, if you guys would raise your hands, it would help me. So we have approved that, Ms. Jackson. The next thing, number 13, is inclusion of optional services. This is above and beyond what, let's say, is required by, I think, our obligation to serve the indigent health needs of the county.
Yes, sir.
And the checklist from last year, we declined all the additional services except for 2. One, the first one is to use advanced practice nurses. Logic there is that's cheaper than the doctor visits. And the other thing we approved is medically necessary dental care. This is coming up out of our jail. That there's just no other way to deal with that. So I would move approval of the inclusions of optional indigent health services at the same level as last year.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Commissioners Williams, Guerin. Okay, thank you. And the final, the number 16 is to continue to enter into or continue actually the contractual agreement with Bell County for Indigent Health Services Department. Indigent cases from Mills County, including the jail. And I'd move approval of that.
Second that
I'll
motion.
second it.
We have a motion by myself, second from Commissioner Wright. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous approval. Ms. Jackson, the court has approved all the matters. Is there anything else you would like to tell us?
Yes, sir, and thank you so much for allowing me. I did send the agreement to Ms. Scott, because I believe
Okay,
I took
we will
over.
return the paperwork to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry for having difficulties.
That's okay. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Jackson.
Thank you.
Commissioners requests and reports. Commissioner Wright, Precinct 1.
We've been busy with road work, and also I was asked about, I think you turned it in on the insurance, y'all probably working on this retaining wall over at the Senior Citizens Center, and they'd asked me about it, and I told them I would ask in court, see kind of progress of how that stands and what we're doing on it right now. That's all I have.
I don't know off the top of my head. I'll find out.
Okay, well, I knew you had some plans drawn.
Yeah, we
up,
did.
Judge.
And we
saw
have,
those plans.
guy was going to go get bid, and then I bet you the COVID thing sidetracked it, but it needs to get.
I knew you made the presentation to the court with plans to replace that, and I think we even voted on it.
We did.
Yeah, but we hadn't done anything since.
Okay. Commissioner Guerin?
We've been removing fence on County Road 214 and 213 where the fire was the other day. So we're pretty close in that area. If it breaks out again, I heard they called them out again last night. That's about all we got.
Commissioner Hall?
We've just finished up on County Road 529. We're gonna move over to 517, I guess, and put in some more tin horns over there. And I had to go help, or I didn't have to, but we went and helped the fire over on the Pretty Highway around Michael Gieslin's. So I guess that was a big help to them guys. And that's it.
Okay, Commissioner Williams?
Yes, again, like two other precincts, we did some firework. We had a fire breakout on 531 again. It was pretty, there was fires all the way into Brown County. And I've been told by our volunteer fire department that one arrest has been made with those fires that were started on last Tuesday. Let's see, we're doing road work out there, right-of-way work in the Ebony community. Kind of like Mike, a lot of those people, we bladed windrows and stuff up on fences, and they still lost their fences. And so they've got fence builders everywhere out there trying to build fences. Also want to let the court know that on September the 14th, regular commissioners court meeting, I will be out of town, but I will try to make it via Zoom. And that's all I have at this moment.
Okay. Judge's report. The big issue is district court is having their first jury trial since COVID this next Monday, August 24th. The jury, so about 300 notices were mailed. People were told to report to the Methodist Family Life Center for the initial jury selection, and the trial will begin after that, which realistically means Tuesday here in the courthouse. Don't know how long it's going to last, but that means on Monday, the clerk's office is likely to be closed. It means on Tuesday and for some days thereafter, we'll be on the sort of the COVID lockdown with the doors shut except for the one on the north side, and there'll be temperature and mask screening for people. We have a scheduled commissioners court agenda, scheduled commissioners court for next Monday, but having nothing on the agenda at this point, and with that jury trial going on, I propose we skip it.
Are we gonna
So,
have another
We'll
budget?
send a notice.
Excuse me, Judge.
Well, I mean, obviously, yes, Commissioner Williams.
Are we gonna meet over this budget issue?
I think you're asking, what are we going to do on the budget? Ms. Busby and Charles Miles and I will figure out what we can do next. And it will take, I don't know if we can have it turned around by Monday is the honest answer. So it may be to the next meeting. But yeah, I'll put another budget on the table. We have, unless we raise taxes, which triggers a lot of other issues in timing, we still have plenty of time to deal with this. We will run a different ad in the newspaper on the judge's salary, although I may wait until we get a budget, because without a budget, we may be running other ads too. We will not be running an ad on the tax rates, obviously, because those tie to the budget, and we don't have that done yet. So that's all I've got. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
We have a motion second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Meeting adjourned.